Hello my friends, welcome to the metal shop. Just having a quick little discussion today about something I saw on Instagram where Neil Sean had taken one of his new Les Paul Supremes and he put a Gibson TP6 fine-tuning tailpiece on, and he also put on a locking clamp. This is a Kahler. He put a Floyd style locking clamp on his, replacing the nut. Something that I've been doing for many years. Not that I'm the originator of this or an innovator, or my buddy called me, hey, you're a trendsetter. Not really. It's pretty something. I'm sure a lot of other people have thought of this. It's just a good idea for tuning stability. Fine tuners here, locking clamp up there. It's win-win. But, and remember, this is a post from Neil Sean, who's been playing guitar professionally and getting paid for it for over 50 years, okay? Played in Santana, founding member of Journey, guy who's made millions and millions of dollars, made a living, and made himself, fabulously wealthy playing the guitar. And guess what you find in the comments? Are a bunch of people that are telling him, why don't you do this? Why don't you do it that way? This is stupid. And it boggles my mind. This works great. And this is a solution to a problem. And you have this sect of players that are like these Gibson purists, dentists and doctors and collectors and whatever. They're like, oh, you just need to, you can make it work. You're doing it wrong, with a properly cut nut and this and that. You'll have tuning stability. Well, Neil's playing this live and he's trying an innovative solution to a problem. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's certainly not wrong. It's just a different solution. It is a solution to the problem, okay? And I think the same thing that Neil found is that if you're used to playing with a Floyd Rose and a locking clamp, and then you switch to a guitar, a tune-o-matic with a traditional nut, you're going to have tuning stability issues because you're playing hard, big bends, whatever. You're playing so physically there that you're going to throw the guitar out of tune no matter how much stability you try and add, in your setup. Someone's comments, new, EVH invented that years ago. Completely untrue. I've been doing it longer than EVH. They put them on some Wolfgangs, in the late 2010s, 2015s. They put their own fine-tuning tailpiece and a Floyd clamp on it. Everyone wants to give EVH credit. He invented a lot of things. He didn't come up with this idea. Not even close. Let's see. I think Ibanez did it on a Satriani guitar, calling it an Edge FX or something. Still cool, though. So that's a positive comment. Eddie and Satch both did it. It's nothing brand new, but decided to try it. That's Neil Sean's reply. Good on him. The guitar that Gibson Supreme reminds me of Steve Howe's late 70s red Les Paul. Cool. Neil, what are your thoughts on Evertune bridges? Not natural for bends. Agreed. Does it need the locking nuts? I would have thought good tuners in conjunction with the micro tuner bridge, I call them fine tuners, would be enough. I'm very intrigued by this setup. I do love the ease and functionality of having micro tuners right there. And you're like, okay, that's not negative, but it's not exactly positive either. I would call that one a neutral comment, Let's see. There were some really negative comments. I just gotta find them here if you'll bear with me. To the old Gibson TP6. I guess I gotta scroll here. The angle of the nut to the tuning peg on Gibson 3-3 headstock always causes tuning issues, which a Floyd locking nut removes from the situation. Locking tuners on a 3-3 headstock doesn't always work in my experience. That's why FPRs, I think he means FRs, Floyd Roses, work better tuning-wise. Have you figured out a way to help Gibson stay in tune better? And Neil Sean replies, neck angle. Maybe changing the neck angle more like a PRS. Okay, and I'm pretty sure this guy is actually a dentist, which is hilarious. I mean, if you need a locking nut and fine tuners for tuning stability, you should probably replace the nut and treat the actual problem and not the symptoms. And it's like, Can you even imagine? You're telling Neil Schon, like a typical guitarist, you're doing it wrong. It's like, dude, really? Shut up. Let's see here. There's a couple more. The fine tuner is cool. I know that the nut locks, but maybe the top edge of the 6th, 5th, and 4th nut slots can be angled back to the tuners. You know, intonation at the nut. All right. This is exactly what the doctor ordered. Let us know how the locking nut performs live, as I've done the exact same setup in the bridge side for a few of my stop tail guitars. You can, in another comment, you can use reinforced plain strings or solder the wraps yourself, touching the iron to the ball end as briefly as possible. The wraps are basically slip knots, but I think that's why EVH used Fender bullets pre-Floyd. I don't think Neil Schon has time to be soldering the little ends of his strings. Maybe his guitar tech could do it for him. But again, that's like a left-handed comment. It's like, oh, try this instead. Like, again, like what he's doing is wrong. Love the guitar and the idea, but the headstock is horrible. Okay, that's a comment. The old Supreme headstock design was better, so there's people that are bagging on that. The 80s are back. How about locking tuners with a TP6? Again, it's not really a dig, but it's still not a positive comment. It's like, why do it that way? Why don't you do it this way? Guitars are the absolute worst. And I can't find the comment, but some guy on here who claims to be a professional guitarist said he was a founding member of Anthrax, and I think he actually plays in Stephen Pearcy's current band, said, oh, I tried that once, but the little plastic pieces kept wearing out. Just so we're clear, there is no plastic on the TP6 fine tuning tailpiece at all. There's no plastic whatsoever. And I'm handing my son back his phone. Thanks, big thanks to Brady Clark for letting me use his phone to read the snarky comments directed at Neil Schon.
My channel will be linked in the description.
It won't.
Ah, come on.
Anyway, so I did this guitar more than 20 years ago. Close-up look there at the, and I purposely used a black Kahler nut, and I wanted to use the Kahler nut because behind the nut, and it's not going to affect the sounds in theory so much, you know, since you still have your traditional Gibson nut, whether you want to use a brass or a bone or a plastic or whatever. This is a great guitar, by the way. This is like a John Sykes special here. And it came like this. Came with the TP6 from the factory. This is one of those nickel, a custom with nickel, which used to be an option. I think it saved like $100 from the gold getting nickel. And then I added the mirrored pickguard here, the mirrored poker chip, and I did add that Kahler locking clamp right there. And I only put 2 screws in there, but it doesn't take much to hold it in place. Next, I did to this guitar. This is what year is this? 2007 Explorer. Nice Explorer. Came this white to cream color like this. I painted the stripes on it. I added the TP6 to it and the Kahler style locking clamp behind the nut. That one's a little different because you can get it with like a screwdriver or even a small coin rather than the very small, I think it's like a 2mm Allen key that the Kahler requires. But I added that. And this is a great sounding guitar. Great crunchy Gibson pickups. And it just works great. You can play it super aggressively and you have no tuning issues. Lock up that Kahler clamp, fine tune here with the TP6 tailpiece, and you are in business. Just love it. You know, this is just a great guitar. I don't remember when I modified this one. Oh, this is nice. This one, the reason I got this one is because it had the nice cream color and it has an ebony board. And obviously I wanted to do the Matthias Jabs replica, so that's what I did with this one. But another one with the TP6 and the Kahler works perfectly. And last but not least, I have my Indonesian-made BC Rich Mockingbird. And this one, I put some DiMarzios. I don't even remember which ones they are here. And I got the idea from And Paul Crook he was in Anthrax at the time, he did the same thing. He put white tape on the back of his so that when the light hit it, it would glow. He did the same thing with the pickups, and simultaneously I did it as well. And I got the idea from looking at a poster of George Lynch with his guitar collection, and there's a gem, the Loch Ness green gem, and Steve Vai did the green and yellow pickups. That's where I got the idea. So, do I claim to be the innovator of the TP6 and the Kahler locking clamp? No, I'm sure someone else thought of that, just like I thought of this independently of Paul Crook, but we did the same thing. So anyway, TP6 here. Oh, one point. The posts are different for the TP6. I think it's wider. I believe that the actual base here is wider. It does require, you can't just put it on a tune-o-matic posts. You are going to have to change out the posts. Let's see. There's the clamp. That's a traditional Kahler locking clamp there. Behind the nut. And this one needed, if you can see that, a little piece of pick guard plastic just to lift it up because of the extreme angle that this one had. But these things, I picked this up dirt cheap. I can't remember. I traded a buddy who owned a guitar store at the time. I traded him $400 worth of stuff for this, and these things now are selling in the $1,500 range. So the worm has really turned on the lucite. I think that's what this stuff is called. Or anyway, this is a heavy guitar. I just think it sounds great, tuned to D for the Motley Crue tunes. But again, what a great idea. Not mine. TP6 and the Kahler. Let's go back to the Les Paul. So I did ask a friend of mine, and I'm not going to name him, famous guy, worked for a very, very famous guitar player, as his guitar tech. And I said, you see the Neil Sean post? And he's like, yeah. I said, I can't believe all the snarky comments saying, Neil, you should try this. Neil, this is dumb. Fix the problem itself. Neil, in my comment that I've been doing this for years, got a Neil loved the comment, and Neil loved the majority of the comments that were positive in nature. But I asked him, I said, how do you keep a Les Paul style headstock in tune? And the guy that he's a tech for is famous, owns tons of really nice high-end Les Pauls, plays them a lot, doesn't have problems with tuning. Like, what's the secret? What is your secret? Okay? And there's a couple of things. It's a lot of work. Number one, new strings. Changing the strings every day. This guy's a professional. His guitar tech is putting brand new strings on every day. Okay, so there's that. They generally do the overwrap on the tailpiece there. Number two, they have a properly cut nut. That means the slots are big enough, they have the proper angle, and that's tip number two. They use Big Ben's nut sauce in the grooves so that the strings will slip past, okay? He doesn't really lock the strings on, but he does the two tuner trick. And I'm going to try and where if you're stringing this one, you measure the string 1-2 tuners past, bring it back, kink it. 1 wrap goes over, 2 wraps goes under, okay? 1 over, 2 under for the wound strings, 1 over, and you're going to have more just due to the nature of how much they stretch. You're going to have 3 to 5 under on your non-wound strings. Okay, so then he does that. So that's tip number, what are we at, 4? New strings, properly cut nut, Big Ben's nut sauce, locking the strings, sort of. They're not tying in knots like some people. Just 1 over, 1 under. And then you're stretching the ever-living crap, the life out of the strings. Stretching them, retune. There's tip number 5. And then we shred. And that's it. So, kind of went off on a tangent here. Try out the TP6 and the Kahler locking clamp for tuning stability. And, one of my rants on how guitar players, they're the worst. How many guitar players does it take to change a light bulb? The answer, 100. And And that's one to change the light bulb, and then 99 other guitarists to tell him that he's doing it wrong and how he should have done it in the first place. Neil Schon, people, he's trying something new and innovative that's a solution to the problem. You don't get on and tell him, you should do this, you should do that. You can get that headstock and the neck angle and the non-straight string pull and the 3x3. You can get it to work. Why? Why? Who's got time for that? You know, this is a very simple, very elegant solution to the problem. Be nice, you know, be constructive. That's one thing I ask about my channel. You want to criticize me? Just fine, but be constructive. And the majority of those comments were positive, and even the ones where they were saying you should try this, you're doing this wrong, were constructive in nature. You know, I've got guys telling me on my videos, what are you doing that for? They say Ibanez is superior to Floyd Rose. I just laugh. It's different. They're not. They copied Floyd's design. They quote unquote improved upon it. Are they better? No. My opinion, they're made from junk pop metal. They're not made from German tool steel. They're just not as good. But I get people saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You need FU tone stainless steel inserts. You need to change your locking nut with the FU tone stuff. Okay, great. You know, if that works for you, so much the better. I think that stuff is a lot of snake oil. That's my opinion. You know, I think it's like mounting your pickups directly to the wood. Leo Fender and the guys at Gibson wanted your pickups to be adjustable and to be suspended. It's like suspension in your car so that they're not picking up the vibrations of the instrument. There's a reason they did that. And if you're saying, oh, screwing the pickup non-height adjustable to the guitar itself is better, okay, power to you. You know, many different ways to skin a cat. Anyway, thank you for listening for the tangent. This was supposed to be, you know, add some tuning stability to your stop bar tailpiece, to your, you know, your Gibson Tune-O-Matic with a TP6 and a locking clamp. That's what it was meant to be. Appreciate you going along for the ride with me on this tangent. Anyway, if you appreciated this video, please give it a thumbs up. Doesn't cost you anything. I don't even know which way we're going here. Please give it a thumbs up. Really helps the channel. Hit me up in the comments. Even if you disagree with me, I ask that you be constructive. That's all. And I will still reply to all my comments. Hit me up in the subscriptions. I always looking for new subscribers. If you've enjoyed this, then please subscribe and share the video. Go ahead and check out Neil Schon's channel on Instagram. Check out that post for yourself and see what you think. I think it's an innovative, great idea that I had 20 plus years ago. Anyway, my friends, take care. Rock on. Bye-bye.